السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بشر وأنذر لا خير إلا دل الأمة عليه ولا شر إلا حذرها منه فصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. نسأل الله جل وعلا أن يبصرنا بالحق وأن يمن علينا بالالتزام به والثبات عليه حتى يتوفانا وهو راض عنا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم اجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا شقيا ولا محروما. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we worship Him, we seek His assistance, we seek His tawfiq. We pray to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us that which is beneficial to us. And we pray to Him subhanahu to give us the tawfiq to apply it. فَإِنَّهُ مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Tonight is the night of the 3rd of Rajab of the year 1440 since Hijrat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which translates into March the 9th of the Gregorian calendar 2019. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal to make this night a blessed night, and all the brothers and sisters who are physically with us in this masjid or who might be tuning in live, to make them mubarakeen in themselves and in their families. Allahumma ameen. And I beg Allah Azza wa Jal to keep giving us the tawfiq to sit around these majalis al-ilm, majalis al-dhikr, because they are the flashlight. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, after Allah Azza wa Jal, nothing is more beneficial to you than the knowledge, the beneficial knowledge, so that you can see the road. And you can see the way to Allah Azza wa Jal. Nothing better than al-ilm. And we keep repeating it. Allah Azza wa Jal says, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Say, are they equal, the ones who know and the ones who do not know? No need to answer. Allah Azza wa Jal did not answer the question. Why? Because the answer is so obvious that it doesn't need to be answered. What is the answer? No, they're not. They're not equal. The ones who know and the ones who do not know. Obviously, we're talking here about the religious knowledge, the beneficial knowledge. We're not talking about math and science, not to belittle these sciences, but we're talking here about al-ilm al-shar'i, which is the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal and the knowledge of His deen, the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Without further ado, obviously we don't have too much time, and as you know, the time is shrinking between Maghrib and Isha. So we've been commenting on this great text of Aqidah called Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah. And the last 2 weeks, this will be the 3rd week, will be that we will be commenting on these, a few or handful of statements from this text of Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah. And that will be fine. That's fine with me. This is the 3rd week. It's fine because these are very important statements, as we've seen. And the implications of the understanding of these statements go a long way. It has the implications of these statements could have implication upon nations, upon people, entire population of a full country, right? And I'm not exaggerating. That's why it was obviously important that we spend some time to make sure that we understand them. But we're going to try our best tonight, inshallah, to wrap up the commentary on these statements, inshallah. I'm going to try to wrap it up as quickly as I possibly can so that we can open the door and leave the opportunity for as many questions and answers. And speaking of questions, inshallah, I'd like to remind even the brothers and sisters who might be tuning in live that they are able to send us their questions or their comments, and inshallah we're going to address them as Allah Azza wa Jal give us the tawfiq to do so. So statement number 157, 158, 159, and 160. Very quickly we said that Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah wal Jama'ah is that they see or they believe that it is impermissible to rebel or revolt or try to overthrow, whether peacefully or through weapon, by force, to overthrow the Muslim leader, even if they are oppressor. It is impermissible to do so. And he said, we do not hold rebelling against our leaders and those in authority over our affairs, even if they are oppressor, even if they oppress. So this hukum or this belief that we do not try to overthrow them, it's impermissible to overthrow them, is not limited only to the just leaders, but rather just or unjust. Imam Abu Ja'far At-Tahawiyyah Al-Hanafi, he said, even if they oppress, in the statement number 158 that is showing on the screen, and let me mark it inshallah real quick. He's saying, even if they oppress, وَإِنْ جَارُوا. So it is impermissible, muharram, to try to overthrow them, and it is kabira min al-kabair. It is a major sin to try to do that, and the scholars have said that this is actually from the type of al-ihdath fi ad-din, innovation in the deen. Changing the deen. And we've said, innovation in bid'ah is not limited to just the actions of worships. It's not just the act, it has to do with the salah or the siyam. But bid'ah could relate to anything in the deen. Could relate to the aqidah, changing the aqidah. This is innovation, bid'ah in the deen. Changing the contract or the punishment code. All of this could be considered from the innovation in the deen. And they said that trying to change this is from the innovations in the deen. And obviously, this is a topic. I would like to request the sisters upstairs to please keep it down, because this is a majlis ilm, and I do hear a lot of background noise, and this is affecting even myself. I'm not able to be frank with you. I started to lose my train of thought. So I would respectfully request all the sisters upstairs and the youth to please keep it down. If you absolutely need to talk, you can go down to the basement or go outside of the masjid. Barakallahu feekum. But here we have a majlis ilm that is ongoing. Jazakumullahu khairah. So we've said that this is an important topic, but the problem is that a lot of people have changed, and a lot of people go by the desires and they go by the emotions, right? They see what's going on in the countries, they see what's going on or what's coming from the Muslim leaders, from oppression and injustice, and they go by the emotions, and they think, that the best way to deal with this is to actually try to overthrow them or try to rebel against them. But we say that, and we've also narrated so many ahadith in the last 2 weeks, the last 2 Saturdays, we've narrated so many ahadith, and even more than that, the ayah of Surah An-Nisa, where Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. O who you believe, obey Allah and obey unconditionally. Obey Allah meaning unconditionally. وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ, and obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also unconditionally. And then he said, وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, and those who are in authority from you. Which means that it is an order from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal is ordering us to obey them, but we say this obedience is not unconditional. It's not unconditional, like obeying Allah Azza wa Jal and like obeying Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But this obedience is only in ma'ruf. Only we obey them in that which is obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. And we said, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, إِنَّمَا الطَّاعَةُ فِي الْمَعْرُوفِ. Yani obedience to the people in authority, to those who are in authority, is only when they order us to do ma'ruf. And if they obey us, or if they order us to disobey Allah Azza wa Jal or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we don't obey them in that particular thing. But that doesn't mean that we start disobeying them and rebelling against them. In that particular order, we don't obey them. Why? Because لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience to any creation, any of the created or any of the creation, if it is obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. We don't disobey Allah Azza wa Jal for any case, right? under no circumstance we disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. But if it is in obedience, then we keep our obedience to the people in authority. In other cases, in only that case where they order us to disobey, we say we don't disobey Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we've also mentioned that this is well documented, and there's a consensus among all the scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. All the A'immat Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the people of knowledge and the scholars, have documented this in their books of Aqa'id, and this is one of them, that we do not see the permissibility to rebel against the Muslim leader even if they are unjust. And we've narrated the hadith where Rasulullah ﷺ foretold us. It's not something new. Rasulullah ﷺ told us that we will see there will be time when the leaders will be unjust. And the Sahaba asked him alayhi salatu wasalam, فَبِمَا تَأْمُرُنَا? So what do you order us, Ya Rasulullah? What do we do if we see that? Right? And this is what we're seeing. He said, Isma wa ati', obey and listen and obey, and do not obey them in disobedience of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And even if they are unjust, even if they steal your money, if they take your money unjustly, or if they flog your bag, even in that case, you don't disobey them and you don't rebel against them. And we've said actually the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Brothers and sisters, this is very important. The ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam are so many that there are scholars who gather them in a specific book exclusively to actually count those ahadith and to enumerate them. Those ahadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us and ordered us to obey the people in authority. Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala in his Sahih, he dedicated a whole chapter, Bab al-Wilayah, a whole chapter that has to do, under which he mentioned tens of ahadith that where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us and guided us to obey those in authority. And as a matter of fact, he narrated one of the ahadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam guided the ummah in khutbat al-wada', hujjat al-wada'. You know that the last hijjah that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed. And in that khutbah, he addressed the Muslim. It was a huge congregation of the Muslim who came to see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And in that khutbah, he guided the ummah and he advised them with great advices. And he reminded them of great ibadat. And he coupled obedience. He coupled obedience of those in authority with the big ibadat. He said, اتقوا ربكم, fear your Lord. وصلوا خمسكم, and pray the 5 prayers. وصوموا شهركم, and fast your month, the month of Ramadan. وَأَدُّوا زَكَاةَ مَالِكُمْ, and give the zakat of your money. وَأَطِيعُوا ذَا أَمْرِكُمْ, and obey the one who has authority over you. Guess what the reward for all of this is? تَدْخُلُوا جَنَّةَ رَبِّكُمْ. If you do that, then the reward is you will be admitted into the paradise of your Lord. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. اتقوا ربكم وصلوا خمسكم وصوموا شهركم وأدوا زكاة مالكم وأطيعوا ذا أمركم. أطيعوا يعني obey the one who is in authority. تدخلوا جنة ربكم. أي أسأل الله العظيم أن يدخلنا جنته. Say Amin. Allahumma Amin. So ibad Allah, we don't want to go by the desires. We don't want to go by the emotions. We want to go by the text. And the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is so dear. And to truly submit to it, and if you truly think that you follow it, you have to put the desires aside. You have to put the emotions aside and fully surrender and submit to the will of Allah Azza wa Jal and to the will of Rasulullah ﷺ, who is the most compassionate with his ummah, who guided his ummah to that which is better for it and for us. And we also said that ta'at wali al-amr, the obedience to the one in authority, is actually an obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. Yani we obey them. Don't think that, some people may think, but wait a minute, brother. How can I obey somebody who is unjust? You're not obeying him for his person. You're not obeying him for his person. You're obeying him because you are obeying Allah Azza wa Jal, who ordered you يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. So we say, Ya Allah, sam'an wa ta'a. And since we obey you, Ya Allah, we obey our leaders because you ordered us to do that. And this is for the bigger benefit. Because like we mentioned before, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and many other scholars, ibadallah, they said history is a witness and history is a lesson. And if history is any indication, never ever has it been the case that people revolted against their leader and their situation became better than it was before. Never. And we're witnessing some of that. We're witnessing some of that. And people are suffering and people are hurting and their situation does not become better as they thought it's going to be the case. Right? So we obey ta'at wali al-amr is ta'a lillah tabaraka wa ta'ala first and foremost. It is not an obedience to their person in particular. The second one, or what is related to that, is you say, what am I supposed to do? Right? This is our situation. Our leaders are for the most part of it, aren't exactly righteous and aren't exactly just. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to be patient. You're supposed to change them by changing from the inside and the people around you. And I've actually showed you, we don't have time to do that, but I've showed you before what Imam Ibn Abi al-Izz al-Hanafi, who is another scholar of Madhab Imam Abu Hanifa, in his commentary on this text of Aqidah, he said, if the people want their situation to be changed, yani the leaders to be changed, you want them to be the righteous leader, then be righteous like you want them to be. The irony, brothers and sisters, is that for the most part of it, those who call to change the leaders, to overthrow them, and they're, complaining about their injustice and complaining about their oppression. They want their leaders to be like Abu Bakr and Umar. And you see their situation and the disobedience that they are upon. You wonder, how do you want the leaders to be like Abu Bakr and Umar and you don't want people to be like the Sahaba? I once was in a restaurant here in Chicagoland area. And the owner of the restaurant, he knows me. He came, it was not a very busy time. He came and sat with me in the table and I was eating. And he started to talk about several things from one topic to another. And then I don't know how it came about the leaders. He said, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil fil hukkam. Yani may Allah suffice us and be enough for us from these leaders. And the music is coming from the ceiling. And the content, Arabic songs, wallahi, it is so inappropriate. And I looked at him, wallahi, I was speechless. I felt so shocked. I didn't know what to say, but inwardly, I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? You're talking about the hukam. You are the ra'i, the guardian in your restaurant. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. What are you doing in your restaurant? You're talking about the hukam, talk about yourself. We want the hukam to change, but we don't want to change. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change the situation unless the change starts from the inside. Sincere and truthful change. This is the reform, Islah. Islah starts from here and from around you. And when you do that, then you will see the fruit. Changing the hukam, brothers and sisters, is a reward from Allah Azza wa Jalla. I ask you by Allah, the ummah is 1.6 billion Muslims or so, maybe even more than now. How much do you think, how many of the ummah, what is the percentage of the ummah that actually prays? What do you think? Pray. Perform the 5 daily prayers. And among those, how many of those actually perform the prayer with khushu' and with tranquility, and they try to perfect their salah, and so on and so forth? How many do you think among our Muslim sisters, not that the men are better, but how many among our sisters actually obey their Lord and they cover up as they are ordered? What is the percentage? And the list goes on and on and on and on. So we want them to change. The brothers and sisters, is al-islah and al-salah and righteousness limited to the leaders but not to us? We want them to be righteous. How about us? That doesn't apply to us? It applies to us first and foremost, before them. That doesn't mean you don't do anything. You're patient, like I said, you be patient. You try to change from within and around you. And then if you are able to do nasiha to the leaders and to the people in authority, then you can actually have a way to approach them. You can actually go and meet with them. And we're gonna talk about some of that, inshallah, in a moment here. By all means do so. Because they deserve a nasiha and a deen al-nasiha. And among others, who deserves it? وَلِأَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ قُلْنَا لِمَنْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ قَالَ لِلَّهِ وَلِكِتَابِهِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِأَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَعَامَّتِهِمْ. أئمة المسلمين are the leaders. They deserve a nasiha, and this is their right upon us. If you're able to go and do nasiha, by all means do so. May Allah reward you. But don't do it publicly. Don't do it on al-manabir. Don't belittle them and don't actually expose them. Because I can tell you, if you're really truthful, if you want them to change and accept your nasiha, they're not going to accept it if you say it on the minbar. Right? If I see somebody among you doing something wrong, and if I just do it using the microphone, brother, what are you doing? This is wrong. Will he accept it from me? This even applies even more. It is even more truthful and applies even more to the leaders. They're not going to accept it from you when you say it in front of everybody on the TV or in the media or on the social media. They're not going to accept it. And there are conditions to this nasiha to the people in leadership and to the people in authority. And like I said, we're going to actually talk about some of that. As a matter of fact, people tend to think that if you don't openly advise them, that means you're not advising them. And this started early on. Even during the time of Uthman ibn Affan, Zayd ibn Thabit, one of the Sahaba, Zayd ibn Thabit, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. People approached him and they said, Ya Zayd, why don't you go talk to Uthman? When people started to talk about some of his actions, financial actions, and, employing some of his relatives. People started to talk, why is he doing this, why is he doing that? They started to talk about that. So they came to Zayd ibn Thabit and they said, why don't you talk to Uthman? He told them, do you think that I don't talk to him unless I come and say, hey, ya ayyuhan nas, I just spoke to Uthman? Is this when you think that I spoke to him? I talked to him, but I'm not going to open a door that I will be the first one to open it. You know what that means? He doesn't want to open that door of fitna. He doesn't want to be the first one to open it because that's not the way of a nasiha to the leaders. A nasiha to the leaders, it has to be lenient, to be nice, right? To be gentle, in private, directly between you and him, if you have access to him. Or if you think you can write a letter that will reach him directly, absolutely, go ahead and write it. Otherwise, it doesn't help. How much help and benefit does it do if you stand on the minbar and you start shouting and you start cursing them and you start exposing them? They don't even know about you. So what benefit do we get? That's not the way of a nasiha to the people in authority, to the a'imma and wulat al-amr. That's not the way we make a nasiha. The second, also related matter to this, is a lot of people, these emotions come from the point that we tend to put an understanding, our own understanding, on their sayings and in their actions. We see, for example, something going on in the country. We see their actions, we see they did something. And then we start to make ta'weel of it. Oh, he's doing this because he's a puppet in the hands of the West. He's doing this because he's this is for his benefit. It's going to actually benefit him. He's going to pocket money from this. But we don't know the full picture. We're just being rajm bil ghayb. We're just guessing. And we think this is what it is because we have already a picture that we've drawn in our mind. It doesn't have to be the case. We don't know the full picture. We don't have all the information. How do you judge and how do you rule that this is what it is and this is what he's trying to do when you don't know everything? Right? And the irony is, these very same people, they only know how to criticize and expose. But they never They never mentioned the good sides and they praise. Never. To that effect, Al-Miswar ibn Makhrama, one of the young Sahaba, yani means that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, he was a little boy. He was one of the Sahaba and he was a knowledgeable person. Radiallahu anhu. He lived during the time of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu ardah. And he was one of the people who used to criticize Muawiyah and talk a lot about what he used to perceive as bad things, evil things, mistakes. He would keep mentioning them and talk about them in front of people. One day he made a trip to Sham, where, the center, the capital of the Khilafah, Umayyad, right? He took from Sham, Damascus today, as the capital of the Khilafah. So he went with a group of Sahaba and they entered on Muawiyah. When he gave them what they wanted, he said, Ya Miswar, stay behind. Everybody left and he said, stay with me. So he said, and notice this, wallahi, this is very important, eye-opener. He said, Ya Miswar, what was the benefit? How did it help your critique, your criticizing of the rulers? How did it help? مَا فَعَلَ طَعْنُكَ عَلَى الْأَئِمَّةِ. So Miswar, he said, leave us from this. No, we don't want to talk about this. Leave us from this. Give us what we want and let us go. He said, La Allah. No, by Allah. You're going to talk to me. Today, you're going to talk to me. You're going to have to answer my questions. He said, you will talk to me in between me and you. What you take upon me. What are the points that you criticize me on? So in Miswar, he gave him the whole list of everything that he criticized on him. He said, I did not leave anything. That you did this and you did this, and this is what I've been talking to people about. That you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing that. So Muawiyah said, none of us, me and you, none of us is free from guilt and mistakes. We all make mistakes. He has admitted that, yes, I'm pretty sure I made mistakes. But none of us is free from mistakes and sinless. But do you count the good things that I do like you count the bad things that I do? Or do you only see the bad things? Who said that? Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He said, do you count the good things and al-islah and al-jihad and all the good things, iqamat al-salawat and, tahkim shar' Allah, ruling by the shara' of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Do you count this? Or do you only see the bad things and the mistakes? He said, no, only the bad things that I mentioned to you. This is the only thing that I talk about. So Muawiyah, he said, as for the sins, I admit everything that I did to Allah Azza wa Jalla. I do not hide anything. I admit all my sins to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So, Ya Miswar, do you have sins? Tell me, do you have sins that you committed privately between you and yourself, that you think and you fear that they will doom you if Allah Azza wa Jal does not forgive them? He said, absolutely. He said, absolutely, yes. So Muawiyah said, what makes you, Ya Miswar? What makes you, Ya Miswar, think and believe that you are more deserving of being forgiven by Allah Azza wa Jal than I am? What makes you think so? Why do you think and you hope? How do you tarjum Allah that He will forgive your sins, but you don't think and you think you are more deserving of that, and I don't deserve to believe that Allah Azza wa Jal will forgive my sins? Look at the argument, right? He's arguing with him. He's trying to establish a proof on him. Radiyallahu anhum jami'an. So Muawiyah said, all of this islah that I do in the Khilafah, in all the Muslim land, and all the things that I do from al-khayr, and wallahi, he said Muawiyah, he said, wallahi, by Allah, I have never been given the choice between two things, except that I choose the one that is in obedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, as much as I can. And we are upon a deen We are upon a religion that where Allah Azza wa Jal accepts the good deeds. And He rewards for each one of them 10 times at a minimum. And threaten with punishment to the sins, except if He forgives. And I hope that Allah Azza wa Jal will reward me for every good deed that I did 10 times. And I, from being a leader, Khalifa al-Muslimin, right? He was Khalifa, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan was the Khalifa. Being in the Khalifa, obviously, the good deeds that he does, that he used to do, will obviously apply to the whole population, to the Khilafah in its entirety. So you can imagine the single good deed from Muawiyah, how great it is compared to the good deed that we individually do. Right? What we do typically applies to us and maybe some around us. But when the ruler does a good deed, that applies to the whole population. So he said, I hope that Allah Azza wa Jalla will reward me and multiply the rewards for every good deed that I do. And I do great things from iqam al-salawat in all across the Muslim land. And from al-jihad fi sabilillah. And from al-hukm bima anzal Allah, from judging by what Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed to us. And what I do is nothing compared to what you do as an individual, right? So think about that. And then, al-Miswar, he said, I admitted and I knew that Muawiyah defeated me in his arguments. It was narrated afterward that al-Miswar was never heard. When Muawiyah was mentioned, he was never heard but asking Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive Muawiyah. Never ever mentioned him in a bad way after this dialogue. Until he died, he was only heard making maghfirah, istighfar to Muawiyah whenever the name of Muawiyah was mentioned. And this is how we should be with our leaders. And this is what Imam Abu Ja'far is saying in the statement 159, that we do not make supplication against them. Yani this is what I really, wallahi brothers and sisters, this is what I just can't make my head around this. People make supplication against the Muslim leader. Why? What benefit do we get from this? And they refrain from making dua for their righteousness and for their salah. Because don't you want the situation to become better? Like, if they become better, doesn't the whole thing become better? Sah wala la? Right? طيب, which one is better? Make dua for their salah, as Imam Abu Ja'far is saying in the statement number 162, وَنَدْعُ لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ وَالْمُعَافَاءِ, and we make supplication for them that they are rectified and kept secure, and we do not make dua against them, supplication against them. What benefit? If we truly and truthfully want their salah, make dua for them. Allahumma aslih a'immatana wa wulata umurina. Makes perfect sense. Why would you make dua against them? And this is what they do. So it really shows that untruthful. We're not really exactly interested in actually their righteousness. And we've mentioned also before that none of the A'immat al-Islam, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, and we mentioned the story of Imam Ahmad. He was put to a great test and trial where Khalifa himself had a deviated Aqidah in the Quran. He believed and forced the people to believe that the Quran is created. And yet Imam Ahmad, he never came on the minbar and he said, Ya ayyuhan nas, al-ma'mun kafar. He didn't do that. And people used to come to him, should we revolt against them? And he said, no. He took his hand away. He's like, I'm not going to put my hand in the blood of the Muslim. And he waited out until things changed, and the Khalifa came afterward, and he reverted back from this deviated Aqidah, and he corrected, and he believed that the Quran is uncreated, Kalam Allah. None of them, Imam al-Dhahabi, Imam al-Nawawi, Imam al-Hafiz, Ibn Hajar, etc., all of them, none of them has been narrated to us that they used to actually call and criticize the rulers openly and like that. I know we're running out of time, so I want to actually try to, subhanAllah, I wanted to finish all of these statements, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to do so if I wanted to open the door for, or the opportunity to make some questions and answers. But I want to skip very quickly to what I was asked last week. The brother over there, the dear brother, should I mention the name? Is that okay? Brother, our dear brother Kashif. He asked me a question about a hadith, which actually is showing on the screen. And on the hurry, we were actually literally out of time. SubhanAllah, I mixed up, and astaghfirullah, I mixed up and I said this is not a hadith sahih. Indeed, it is a hadith sahih. SubhanAllah, I mixed up with another hadith. It is, I actually went back and reviewed and researched, it is actually a hadith sahih. But brothers and sisters, what matters, and this is what actually really, really saddens me. What some people do is they bring what they call is an evidence. Ayah, hadith, they bring it, and they try to play tricks on people, trying to deceive them and convince them, deceptively, that this is a evidence to what they're saying and calling for. What matters is not to bring a text from the Quran and the Sunnah, but what matters is what the meaning of the hadith is. This is what matters. A lot of people, they actually take an ayah and they say, oh, you see? A lot of people, for example, will take the ayah of Surah An-Nisa, I believe, right? وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ جَاءُوكَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا اللَّهَ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمُ الرَّسُولُ لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. They take this ayah as an evidence that now you can go to the grave of Rasulullah ﷺ and ask him to make istighfar on your behalf. The ayah is correct, but it's not with the meaning that they are calling to. So what matters is the meaning, right? The hadith that they actually mention is Tariq ibn Shihab narrated that a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he asked him, Ya Rasulullah, ayyul jihadi a'zam? Which of the jihad is the best jihad? What jihad is the best? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, kalimatu haqqin inda sultanin ja'ir. A word of truth in front of a tyrant or a tyrannical ruler. Having issues? So he said, so Rasulullah ﷺ answered, a word of truth in front of a tyrannical ruler. Hadith sahih. But what is the meaning of this hadith? Notice that that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and I want to actually point this out. Notice what did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says. He said, kalimatu haqq, a word of truth, which could be either amr bil ma'ruf or nahi anil munkar. Either you order with good, you order the ruler with something that is good, amr bil ma'ruf, or it could be a nahi anil munkar, forbidding of something evil, or you correct something that they're doing, could be either by speech, or it could be by writing a letter to them. This is kalimat al-haq, as the scholar has actually explained it. They said it is either whatever it is, ma afada amran bi ma'ruf aw nahyan an munkar. طيب. But what did he say, alayhi salatu wassalam? He said, inda, in front of a tyrant. What we call in the Arabic language, mushafahatan. You are in the same majlis as him. You are in front of him. You're talking directly to him, not from the manabir, not from the newspaper, not from the TV, not from the social media. You are actually talking directly to him. This is what Al-A'imma said. They said you're actually talking in front of him directly. What clarifies this is another hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and I couldn't find an English translation, so I'm going to translate this hadith. May Allah give me tawfiq. From Iyad ibn Ghanam al-Ash'ari, he said, رضي الله عنه, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, من كان عنده نصيحة لذي سلطان, whoever has a nasiha to the ruler, فلا يكلمه بها علانية, let him not talk to him in front of everybody publicly. علانية. He said, let him not talk to him publicly in front of everybody. وَلْيَأْخُذْ بِيَدِهِ فَلْيَخْلُ بِهِ. Then let him take him on the side privately. يَخْلُ. يعني يَخْلُ بِهِ. They are in a khalwa. يعني him and the ruler on their own. Nobody else. فَإِنْ قَبِلَهَا. And let him give the advice. If he accepted, قَبِلَهَا. Alhamdulillah. وَإِلَّا كَانَ أَدَّى الَّذِي عَلَيْهِ وَالَّذِي لَهُ. Otherwise, if he doesn't accept it, then he did what he has to do. Give him nasiha. It's not up to you whether he accepts it or not. You do what you can, and then you leave it up to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is the meaning of that hadith. It has nothing, it's not an evidence to what they say. This is in front of him. People come to the West and they start criticizing the rulers in the East. SubhanAllah al-Azim. What benefit? What benefit does it help? Nothing. They probably don't even know about what you said. It didn't reach them. And they had never heard of it. So, كَلِمَةُ حَقٍّ عِنْدَ. You are actually in front of him and you're talking directly to him. And Allah Azza wa Jal ordered Musa and his brother astaghfirullah, Harun alayhim as-salam, to go to Fir'aun. Who is worse than Fir'aun? Who is more oppressor than Fir'aun? Nobody, no ruler. He said, فَأْتِيَا فَقُولَا لَهُ. He said, go to him and say to him directly, between you and him, فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Lenient and gentle word of advice. Otherwise, he won't accept it. You belittle him in front of everybody. Who's going to listen to you? Nobody's going to, let alone a ruler. So it has to be lenient, it has to be nice, and you don't, for example, say, you're doing this and you're doing that and you're doing this and you're doing that. But doing this is wrong. What's being done is wrong. You don't accuse him of doing it, to being lenient, and you try the best word you can, privately, and advise him. This is the nasiha al-shar'iyyah li wali al-amr, and as a matter of fact, this is the last thing, I promise, inshallah, subhanAllah, I don't have much time, more time. But this is also, I was able to find this very precious commentary or explanation from Imam Al-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. Imam Al-Nawawi, commenting on this hadith, الدين النصيحة. الدين النصيحة قلنا لمن يا رسول الله قال لله ولكتابه ولرسوله ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. Now obviously he commented on each and every one of them. What is al-nasiha lillah? What is al-nasiha li rasulillah? What is al-nasiha li kitabillah? But what interests us at this very moment is al-nasiha li a'immat al-muslimin. Right? To the rulers. He said, وَأَمَّا النَّصِيحَةُ لِأَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. As for the nasiha to a'immat al-muslimin. What does it mean? He said, مُعَاوَنَتُهُمْ عَلَى الْحَقِّ. To actually work with them and collaborate with them and help them out in that which is haq. وَطَاعَتُهُمْ فِيهِ. And to obey them in that regard. وَأَمْرُهُمْ بِهِ. And to order them with whatever is orders from Allah Azza wa Jal and is haq. بِرِفْقٍ وَلِينٍ. This is the point. In a lenient and in a nice and a gentle way. بِرِفْقٍ وَلِينٍ. وَإِعْلَامُهُمْ بِمَا غَفِلُوا عَنْهُ. And to remind them of what they might be heedful about, or that which they might be ignorant about. They don't know. You teach them, you tell them, you remind them, you bring it to their attention in a lenient and gentle way. وَلَمْ يَبْلُغْهُمْ مِنْ حُقُوقِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And what has not reached them from what is right of the Muslim upon them. So you remind them of the order of the rights of the population upon the leader. This is what's important. From النصيحة لأئمة المسلمين, he said, وَتَرْكُ الْخُرُوجِ عَلَيْهِمْ. And to leave rebelling and overthrowing them. This is from al-nasiha to wali al-amr. From al-nasiha to wali al-amr, to a'immat al-muslimin, is to leave rebelling and revolting against them and to try to overthrow them, even if they are oppressor. وَتَأْلِيفُ الْقُلُوبِ النَّاسِ لِطَاعَتِهِمْ. And this is the last thing. Even also from al-nasiha li wali al-amr, who is saying that? Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala. And obviously he's not the only one who said this, but the speech and the sayings and the books of all the ai all of them, they actually agree with this. Absolutely, 100%. He said the last thing from al-nasiha li wali al-amr is ta'lif al-qulub, is to actually bring the hearts of the population closer to wali al-amr and to make these hearts love from al-ulfa, ta'lif, mu'allafa qulubuhum, to actually tu'allif qulub al-nas li ta'atihim, to actually bring and advise the Muslim population to obey them. And all that is good. Not to try to overthrow them. This is from al-nasiha li wali al-amr. Those people who try to overthrow them, where are they from these texts? They take one hadith, and even in that hadith, we've just shown what the actual meaning is, and we just proved that it's not an evidence to them. But at the same time, they throw tons of ahadith behind their back, as if they don't know about them. And the scholars have said, I promise, this is the last statement. I talk a lot, subhanAllah. May Allah give you patience. I talk a lot. What can you do? May Allah forgive you. Al-A'imma, they said, those ahadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam guided us and ordered us to obey them, even if they are oppressors, are so many that they have reached hadd al-tawatur. Ahadith mutawatara. Yani they reach the level of abundance that they are mutawatira. No way to neglect them. No way to not to pay attention to them. They are so established that they are ahadith mutawatira. I promise, and I'm going to stop here. Questions? Can I get a cup of water, barakallah fikum? And make it super size. طيب. I think, I beg your pardon, but I think he raised his by a fraction of a second before you. Fraction of a second. So I'm trying to be just. طيب, one question at the beginning because of the short. And make it as concise, barakallah fikum. So the brother is asking, should we actually be working toward khilafah? Not specifically for the khilafah. What you should be working for is to actually remind yourself and train yourself on obedience, on sticking to the sharia of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and your family and the people around you. And if everybody does that, then you will see khilafah comes on its own. You don't need to work for it. It will come as a reward, as a fruit of that. Allah Azza wa Jal will bless this ummah with it. So it's not a goal, it's actually a reward that will come by Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal yun'im ala al-ummah, ni'ma min Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. He will bless this ummah with that if we do what I just described. Islah al-nafs and islah al-ghayr and the surrounding. Sticking to the sharia of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Now.
What is the explanation which Imam Tahawiyyah and others who are of the same opinion regarding the revolts made by Hussein ibn Ali and others who followed till the time of...
I got the question, inshallah. So the brother is asking, what do the scholars say about some of the instances that actually happened in the history of, people revolting against their leader, right? So the brother gave the example of Al-Hussein ibn Ali. I want to clarify this point. A lot of people bring this up. Al-Hussein ibn Ali did not revolt. This is how they try to frame it. Al-Hussein ibn Ali, the only thing that he did is he was approached by the people of Iraq. They sent him thousands of letters. Come, we want to talk to you. Come, we want to talk to you. He merely went out to them to see what they have to say to him. He didn't revolt. He actually said it. When he was surrounded, and his killing is unfortunate and is wrong and is an oppression. But when he was surrounded, he gave 3 options. He told them, I will go back. I either go back to where I came from, or take me to Muawiyah, and I will put my hand in his hand, and I will work with him, or send me to any place of where there is a battle jihad, and I will fight in the way of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala until he takes his amanah. They refused all of that.
There was no Muawiyah at that time.
I'm sorry?
No Muawiyah at that time.
No, I'm sorry, Afwan, I'm sorry, Ahsan, barakallah, his son, Yazid, Ahsan, Yazid ibn Muawiyah, I'm sorry, my mistake. So this is what during the time of Yazid, he said, take me to Yazid, or let me go back with my family, or I will go to any front of jihad, any jihad front. They refused all of this. And they said, we're going to take you as a prisoner. He said, no, I will fight them. And this is how he got killed. He wasn't revolting. That's one. Second, some people take, for example, the example of Khilafah al-Abbasiyya, right? They revolted against Bani Umayyah and they conquered them, right? All of the scholars have said that actually what came out of it, this occurrence in itself is no evidence, obviously. It's not an evidence. The fact that they came out against them, revolted against them, and they eventually conquered them is not an evidence in themselves, right? In itself. But guess what? Khilafat Bani Umayyah, all the scholars, there is a consensus, and you can review all their books. They said the best khilafah after al-Khulafa al-Rashidin was Khilafat Bani Umayyah, and Khilafat Bani al-Abbas was actually worse than Khilafat Bani Umayyah. So they revolted, and they took over the authority. But what happened? What ended up being worse, lesser than what they started with. Khilafat Bani Umayyah, no question about it, was better than Khilafat Bani al-Abbas. So what have we achieved? Nothing, no benefit. We ended up in a situation that is worse than what it used to be. And Khilafat Bani Umayyah was so much better. And the best of it is Khilafat Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He is the best of our kings. خير ملوكنا. Now, does that address your question, inshallah?
Yeah, but I said starting from Hassan ibn Ali.
Like I said, he did a revolt.
Yeah, but there are others.
طيب.
Like Nafs Zakiya, he revolted during Mansur Abbasi time.
Brother, the fact that some people did it is not an evidence in itself. We have, like I said, we have tons of ahadith, and we have the books of the A'imma in their Aqidah and in their other books. All of them, they're saying it is not permissible to revolt against them. If somebody did it, no matter how righteous he may be, that's not an evidence. This is not a hujjah. It's not an evidence that it's permissible. What we have, Kitabullah and Sunnatu Nabiyhi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is what we rely upon. So the fact that some people did it, it never actually resulted in something better, nor is it a daleel.
No, my question was, what is the explanation?
Well, some people may have done something wrong. I mean, I don't know about each and every one, but like I said, so Hussein did not revolt. Other cases, like I said, they're not justified, and they also did not result in something that is better. Khilafat Bani Umayyah was better than Khilafat Bani al-Abbas. Absolutely. So there is no evidence in that, and some people have done, it is their own ijtihad, and it's wrong. Absolutely wrong. Yeah. Any other questions? Salam.
Now the situation is different. For example, I'm just taking Pakistan as an example. They have done a so-called democracy. It's not democracy. Now, can you go and sit in opposition and go against the leader?
You should not. You should not. But you make advice to the leader. If you are a politician, if you are in the political arena, right? If you are in a position, or they call themselves opposition, they're trying to reform, right? Islam. Do it the right way. You truly wanted Islam? We just showed what the way of Islam is. You go to the leader, you are in the political arena, hopefully you have access to the leader. That means you can just ask to meet with him, sit down, go to his office, sit down with him, and say what are the points that you have against what's happening. Say, this is happening and it is wrong. This is happening and it is wrong. And give the nasiha to him. Don't do it the wrong way. Do it the right way. Give him the nasiha. And we just mentioned what the nasiha is. To go to them and talk to them. Now. Any other questions? Brother Dr. Ansari. The microphone. Salam. Allah So this is only to the rulers, to the one who are in authority of running the country or running the area. But the same thing also applies to even at a lower level. For example, Imam al-Masjid obviously has authority, right? So Imam al-Masjid has authority in his masjid, right? And that comes with privileges and it comes with rights. For example, nobody should start the prayer unless he gives the permission to do so. If the Imam is there, nobody should call the adhan, nobody should call the iqam and start the prayer unless he gives the permission, etc., etc. The person, for example, a school, a superintendent of a school, he is the one in authority for that school. So every person, every leader at their level, they are leaders also in their level of authority, right? And the highest one is the ruler of the country, obviously. And all of them have rights and they have responsibilities. Yes. Now.
One last
تفضل.
question.
طيب.
You said last week that if you are Hanafi,
ما طيب. نعم.
yeah, last week you said if you are Hanafi,
نعم.
then you should follow Hanafi Masla,
أحسنت.
which is what was on the screen, the belief you explained.
No.
Yeah, this one. Now the fact is, Hanafi Madhab and Imam Abu Hanifa are two different things. Imam Abu Hanifa did not hold this opinion.
He did.
No, he did not.
Okay. I'll show you. You want to see? I'll show you, inshallah, brother. Here. See, I think you didn't start with us when we first started this. I'm sorry. This commentary. Here. I'm going to go to the very first page. This is where it started. This is what Imam Abu Ja'far said in the very first statement. He said, هذا ذكر بيان عقيدة أهل السنة والجماعة على مذهب فقهاء الملة أبي حنيفة النعمان ابن ثابت الكوفي وأبي يوسف يعقوب ابن إبراهيم الأنصاري وأبي عبد الله محمد ابن الحسن الشيباني رضوان الله عليهم أجمعين وما يعتقدون من أصول الدين ويدينون به رب العالمين. This is a mention, and this book is actually a attestation of an explanation of al-Aqidah of the Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah upon the way of the jurists of the religion, Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man and Abu Yusuf, and I'm just skipping, and Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, may Allah be pleased with them all, and what they held as their creed from the fundamentals of the religion and what they held as a religion in obedience to the Lord of the creation. So this text of Aqidah is actually a documentation of what they held as belief. Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad al-Shaybani. This is what they used to hold as a belief to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He's documenting what they believed. He said from the very beginning, this is the introduction to the Aqidah. So this is exactly what they believed in Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is a summary of their belief. No question about it.
Early historians, closer to his time,
طيب.
they mentioned that he supported the revolt of Muhammad bin Ibrahim al-Nafs al-Zakiyya against Mansur. And he said, anyone who supports him will get reward of 70 Nafli Hajj.
طيب, brother, can I ask you a favor? Inshallah, next Saturday, would you be able to bring this proof? I would like to see it, where it was mentioned. Where is it mentioned? Because we need to see the proof, the evidence, I would like to see where it is documented, inshallah. So if you can, inshallah, we'll comment on it. Absolutely. Abshir. Jazakallahu khair. Any other questions? So the brother is asking, does the same ruling apply to rulers who are non-Muslim? This aqidah that we just mentioned only solely applies to the Muslim leaders. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the ayah, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. يعني from the believers. So this applies to the people. This ta'ah, this order to obey, is solely for the people who are in authority from among you, from the Muslim. The non-Muslim, obviously, it shouldn't be the case. As a matter of fact, it's shame that if non-Muslim is ruling a Muslim country, because Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَلَنْ يَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ سَبِيلًا. Allah Azza wa Jal will never give a upper hand of the non-believers upon the believers. It shouldn't be the case. If it happens, then they should try to remove them, as long as it doesn't cause a lot. It doesn't result in a lot of bloodshed or a lot of fitna and at a high cost. If it can be done easily, inshallah, without a lot of bloodshed, then they must remove him, because he doesn't deserve to rule them. Now, Muslim country. Now, from the internet. Allahu Akbar. تفضل. طيب. حكام. So the question is, what is the ruling with respect to the people who organize and plan for these demonstrations, right, against the Muslim leaders? They plan and they gather people and they call people together to get together to demonstrate against the Muslim leader. I say obviously these are very evil people. They don't care about the lives and the livelihood of those people, and we've seen it time and time again that these only result in bloodshed. And people are being arrested and thrown in jails, in honors being attacked. Muslim sisters and women are being attacked in their honor, and properties being destroyed, and there's no good that comes out of it. Absolutely no good about it, right? This is not the way to change. This is not the way to make islah of the rulers and of the situation. We've already mentioned that demonstration is never a way. They never did this before. Right? So these are definitely even people. And I can tell you, whoever are actually calling people to do that, the sin that or the evil that comes from that affect all of the people will be under their record as well. Yeah, because this is affecting other people. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. People's lives and livelihood is at stake. You're throwing people in doom. You're dooming people and dooming their families and dooming their lives. It doesn't result in anything that is good. And by the way, this is actually one of the way of revolting against the Muslim leader. To be frank with you, where does it start? It doesn't start overnight. People starting to demonstrate, and then eventually it goes into turning from peaceful into forceful, right? And then people get killed, etc., etc. This is the beginning. This is actually one way of revolting and rebelling against the Muslim leader. And it is wrong. It's not the right way. I couldn't emphasize more, brothers and sisters, really. I couldn't really emphasize more than what Imam Ibn Abi al-Izz al-Hanafi said. I shared this, but I think I want to remind you, because it looks like we may have forgotten what Imam Ibn Abi al-Izz said. The Imam Ibn Abi al-Izz al-Hanafi said in his commentary on this text of Aqidah, he said, as to the rule that we should obey those in authority even if they are unjust, it is because the evil that would result from revolting against them would be many times worse than the evil which resulted from their injustice. In fact, by patiently bearing their injustice, we atone for many of our misdeeds and add to our rewards, for Allah has only inflicted them upon us on account of our misdeeds. The rule is that the recompense of an act is in accordance with the act itself. Hence, our duty in such situations is to strive in repenting, seeking forgiveness, and rectifying our behavior. And skipping to the last sentence, he said, if the people want to get rid of the injustice of an unjust ruling, this is what we want to do, right? What is the solution? They should themselves abstain from doing wrong. That's it. Simply put, you want to get rid of the injustice? then abstain from doing wrong yourself. No secret ingredient, nothing secret in here, straightforward. Ittaqillah, and Allah Azza wa Jal will reward you with a just leader. We're not talking. Okay, so somebody was actually trying to clarify. When I was asked about the non-Muslim leader, I'm not talking about this country or any country in the West. We're talking about Muslim countries. Don't misunderstand or misread what I said. I said a Muslim country ruled by a non-Muslim. We're not talking about here. Nobody should understand this from what I'm saying. We entered into this country peacefully, and we are peaceful people. We respect the laws of this country. And this is the contract on which that we enter this country. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. You don't like it, this is not your. Don't stay here. Go back. Go somewhere else. Now, the last thing that I want to mention, actually, I'm sorry, brother. Barakallah fi. I beg your pardon. But one thing that I was reminded to mention is also Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam foretold us in a hadith that it will be khilafa rashida for 40 years. And then it will be followed by a mulk adud. Yani it will become a kingdom afterward. Right? Yani the son will inherit from his father, and this is exactly what happened during the time of Muawiyah. Yazid ibn Muawiyah took it over from his father Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. But if you count how many the Khulafa al-Rashidin ruled, it is exactly sharp 40 years. And this is what Rasulullah told us. And he said that you will see a lot of things that you will dislike. And he told us that you will see things that you will hate and are wrong. And they asked Rasulullah, what are we supposed to do? He said, be patient and give them their right of obedience. And that is with that which is obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. And ask Allah Azza wa Jal for what your rights are until you meet me around the hawd, around the pond of Rasulullah. So this is what we're supposed to do. This is the way forward. And make Islah among ourselves. And this is hopefully what we're trying to do. I think we're really running out of time. So, I'm sorry? Tafadhal. Salam.
This is not a question. If you see in our country Muslim, Allah says, all this country who are against either Syria, Iraq, or Tunisia, or Algeria, even Egypt, it's no one is win or winner in this country. After the leader killing everywhere, look to Syria, and look to Egypt, and look to each country, and Tunisia too. See, or Libya, see how many people killed when they're against the leader, and after this, ISIS come, terrorists, they make like for Muslim is everywhere terrorist because they not follow Aqidah At-Tahawiyyah wal Jama'ah. But this is our Aqidah. Look to any country of Muslim, all this is Tawrat is called against the leader. Everyone it's failed. No one passed. And now look, ISIS coming from where? Syria. People against Bashar al-Assad. We know Shi'i, he's a Muslim too. Ibn Baz, he said, rahimahullah, he's a Muslim. But if we say, Abdullah, nasiha, and make that for him, and work as a group, Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, advise him, then inshallah khayr is come and the khilafah is come.
Allahumma ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to actually stick to the sharia, stick to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For wallahi, this is the guidance and this is the light and this is the understanding of the earlier generation, and their understanding is al-haq. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us follow their guidance and their light and stay the course. إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.